Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Late the W podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mahal. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, all of that fantastic jazz. If it's your first time joining, make sure you follow on social media at Late the W pod on all of that. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we're active on all of those. So, without further ado, let's sound the horn and get into this episode.
The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit. Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and Buster Grandma. It is grand salami time.
will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
See, that's right. Seattle has a Super Bowl NFC champion team. Seattle Mariners make it to Game 7 in the American League last year for the first time in franchise history, and the Seahawks have nothing to do but one-up it by going to the Super Bowl and what was seeming to be a transition year. What a season so far for the Seahawks, 2 weeks from the Super Bowl, but we're here to talk about baseball. Specifically, we're here to talk about the Mariners offseason. That Super Bowl will be the week of opening day starting. It'll be the same week. Looking at a calendar, the Super Bowl is February 8th. The Mariners pitchers and catchers report on the Thursday of that week, February 12th. So if you want to think about the Mariners offseason, has about 2 weeks until spring training itself begins. Now, there can be deals that happen in spring training, but they happen a lot less. So what we're going to do today is look at the Mariners offseason right now. How would I grade it? What have they brought in? What holes do they have? How can they make their offseason better? And then we're going to dig into a guy that theoretically is in one or will contribute to one or two of those holes I'll mention. That guy's going to be Dominic Canzone. So we're going to dig into Dominic Canzone and 3 questions around him entering 2026. But we're going to start with this offseason. So before we do that, go Hawks and let's sound the horn. All right, Mariners fans. So the big question I have circled above all else: how does the offseason grade out right now? For me, I've said B. I think it's probably like a B minus, C plus. I'd be okay with a B grade. But you are not better than you were at the end of last season. And I don't even think it's really arguable. You are a worse team than you were at the end of October when you were in Game 7 of the ALCS. I think you're a slightly better team than you were 12 months ago. And part of that is just because you are a stage further towards this next wave of prospects hitting, and you have some of them about to hit. But those guys themselves aren't proven in their holes, and for a team that wants to build on their first division championship in the last 20 years, you got to be better than this. And for that reason, it's a B minus, C plus. Mariners have brought in Josh Naylor, re-signed Josh Naylor. They've traded for Jose A. Ferrer, signed Rob Refsnyder, and the backup catcher position as of right now is Andrew Kisner. Of those, one is an everyday player, one is a reliever, one is a platoon bat, and one is a bench player. So you have 2 bench bats, an actual bat, an everyday bat that was re-signed, and a reliever that has nice floor, has control, and has upside. Ferrer, great acquisition. Naylor, great acquisition. Rob Refsnyder, great acquisition. It's really good prospect or process. It's what you had to do. Those 3 guys are great. Kisner, whatever. We don't even know if he's going to necessarily be on the opening day roster for sure. But you lost 4 bats. We'll say 4. Really, it was 3 to free agency. The 4th is Mitch Garver, but Josh Naylor, Jorge Polanco, Eugenio Suarez, Mitch Garver, all free agents following 2025. You have re-signed Josh Naylor. Garver, Gino, still free agents. We'll see if either are back. And Polanco got a massive deal to go to the Mets. We know they wanted to somewhat run it back. And that means that they know they're a bat or 2 short right now. You can also see that through them wanting to add more players and talking to lots of teams on lots of guys. But nothing has gotten across the finish line. We haven't even gotten reports that anything's really been close. It's been frustrating. Your payroll right now sits somewhere between 150 and 160, likely over 155 million, roughly 156, 157. It's about $10 million lower than how they ended last season. Now, you don't want to just spend to spend. You don't want to just have to talk about money, but, that's what we do here. Partially, unfortunately. And that in itself, if the offseason ended today, really, would be disappointing. The 2 guys that the Mariners have been most linked to are Jorge Polanco, Brendan Donovan. Polanco obviously signed. Donovan, we don't know what the hell is happening there. At what point do you pivot? And should you have already, pivoted off? Should you have gone and got somebody so that if you miss out on Donovan or he doesn't end up getting traded, you're not just batless. And he could have just been, that cherry on top, that final piece of the offseason to make it perfect. But what they're trying to do this offseason is balance this next wave of prospects coming up and giving them the opportunity to succeed while building on regaining the city and not repeating what happened after 2022 where they fell on their face in 2023. Trying to build on a Game 7 ALCS appearance where it's the farthest this franchise has ever made it. In a division where you just won it, but it's difficult to do that. And you're a franchise that's never won back-to-back division titles. That is difficult to toe that balance between those 2 things. It is difficult. And it's difficult to do it when those holes you have, you don't want to just block guys. That's the difficult part. You don't want to just purely bring in a second baseman because what happens to Cole Young? Now, third base is a little bit different. I think you could bring in a third baseman. And I don't know if I've really shown that. But the further we get, the more I'm like, well, do I really got to think about Gino? He's an everyday player. But then I'm like, well, he's probably going to get upwards of $10 million over multiple years. And AAV is what I'm putting that $10 million. So it would be like 2 years, $20 million. I just don't think that's something reasonable for this team to do. It's not something that they should do, I don't think, even if you're in a pinch. But the question they should be asking themselves is, look at what the Seahawks have done. This city over the past 20 years has seen 4 Super Bowl teams. 4. Over the past 20 years, they've seen 2 playoff baseball teams. Let that sink in. There are double as many Super Bowl appearances as there are playoff baseball appearances. Seahawks have just rocketed their way into the Super Bowl. Right after you did everything to get this city right behind you again. Now, how do you build on that? How do you get this city back? How do you get people talking and excited about baseball today on January 26th when I'm recording this, or January 27th, 28th when you're listening to this? As we transition into February, how do you get people excited about their baseball team when their football team is going to the goddamn chip? It's making a big acquisition. It's bringing in someone that's like, yes, this is what this team's missing. It's giving that piece that's going to fill holes. Because this roster, this team still has holes. There are still holes. Second base is a hole. Third base is a hole. Right field and DH are a hole. You still need a bridge guy in the pen. You kind of still need a backup catcher that can maybe get Cal off his feet more because Andrew Kisner is not that. Cal Raleigh's playing in the WBC after a season where they went to Game 7 of the ALCS. He just played a ton of games, a ton of innings behind the plate. How do you protect him from injury? God forbid. Andrew Kisner is not that. He's not a guy that I feel comfortable inserting in twice, 3 times a week to let Cal get off his feet. Let alone once a week. Let's say you have a weekend set and you're like, we want to give Cal Sunday off. Well, you've just lost game 1. Okay, you won game 2. You want a series win here. So is Cal playing? Is he getting off his feet? What is that looking like? And if he's getting off his feet and DHing, not getting a full day's rest, who's not in the lineup? Canzone? Rayleigh? Refsnyder? Robles? Now, some of those guys maybe aren't going to be much better than Andrew Kisner at the plate. That's entirely possible. But for a team that needs to win as many fucking games as possible, how do you protect against that? And they haven't done that. They haven't protected. You gotta build up your bench as well. All the talk is we need more everyday starting bats, and that is true, beyond true. But how do you get role players? Raise that floor, per se, of your team. So that, Randy Arozarena can get a day off. Julio Rodriguez can DH a day or get a day off. Josh Naylor can get a day off. Right now, who is the backup first baseman? Rob Refsnyder? Luke Rayleigh? Either of which are okay options. Why not go look at Yandy Diaz and have him be an everyday DH type for you, and then he can go play first base when you need to give Naylor a day? Go acquire good players. Even if you have to just figure out a way to push them and insert them into this roster. And the final hole, to me, shortstop is still a hole. JP Crawford, 1 year left on his deal. What is he going to bring you? I've talked about it time and time again. And it's not talked enough about because of second base, third base, right field / DH, and backup catcher. And even the bullpen. That is 5 things I put in front of shortstop as a potential issue. Yet to me, shortstop is still an unknown. I've talked about question marks right now on the Mariners roster, in the Mariners lineup. 5 spots in the Mariners lineup are question marks. 5. Five spots. And your roster has even more than that. Your roster has 6 or 7. God forbid I say that. 6 or 7. Yeah, we got it. 6 or 7 spots right now, position player wise, that I'm like, well, All right. I guess. Who are the guys right now on the Mariners? We're going to go 13-man roster of just position players that I'm like, all right, let's freaking go. Josh Naylor, Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, 3. Randy Rosarena, 4. Ref Snyder, 5. And I like Canzone. But I don't know if I would put him at 6. So 5 guys where I'm like, I think your role is pretty set in stone. I feel good about you doing your role. I feel good about you being a contributor for this team, this lineup, this roster. 5 guys out of 13. Let's get that a little bit higher. Let's get that to 7, 8 guys. Let's finish this offseason with an everyday player or 2 everyday players if possible and another guy to insert on that bench. But if you bring in 2 everyday players, okay, now we look at that bench and, okay, some of those guys that are question marks right now that I feel like, yeah, they could pop up and be good. Now, those are the bench guys, and if they pop up, they pop out, they do well. And now we're talking about this roster being one of the best in baseball. But how do you make yourself, heading into spring training, heading into opening day, a favorite in the American League? If not the favorite in the American League. Blue Jays have failed a little bit at rejuvenating their lineup, at bringing in some proven pop, some proven guys. Losing Bo Bichette, how do you fill that hole? They haven't really done it. So how can you jump on that opportunity? There are options out there. There are. We're not going to talk about them on today's episode. I think that's something we're going to look at on Thursday a little bit. But I mentioned one earlier, Yandy Diaz. Are the Rays open to trading him for the right price? All is to be seen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Moving on, though, some of those holes Dominic Canzone has the opportunity to fill. Canzone, right fielder, left fielder, mostly right fielder, though, and DH. Had a breakout campaign through 82 games in 2025. 82 games. He hit 300, 358, 481 with a win and a half, a 141 WRC plus, hit 11 home runs, and had the 3rd best batting average on balls in play in baseball at 354. It is a small sample, 82 games. That's about half a season. You've seen guys put up good half seasons and then suck. So is 2025 for Dominic Canzone repeatable? Could he be better than 2025? And what will 2026 look like? Those last 2 questions, a little bit to be answered, to be seen. But whether it's repeatable, I think we can look at a little bit. Warning, this is some nerdy stuff. We're talking about Dom Canzone's swing, okay? So what I wanted to look at while I was doing this is we're going to get into who he is as a ball player after we get into some of this other stuff. But we're going through a lot here. We're going to talk about the swing. We're going to talk about what he does against specific pitches, where he hits the ball, ground balls, fly balls, stuff like that. Specific pitches, all that type of stuff. I have 3 questions for him. We're going to talk about his postseason performance, holes in his swing that pitchers might look at to attack. Look at his 2023, 2024 seasons where he played 59 games in 23, 67 in 2024. We're going to look at all this stuff. We're going to look at his whole career. 3 years worth to look at for Dom Canzone. We're going to start with the swing, though. So, small, what sound like small, minute differences can be huge, can be difference makers. For example, ideal attack angle is a statistic that Baseball Savant and StatCast use to when hitters swing Are they swinging up? Are they swinging down? Are they a flat swing? This is a thing youth coaches talk about a lot. Don't swing up on the ball. Don't swing down on the ball for sure. Try and keep your swing flatter. Hit line drives, stuff like that. The ideal attack angle is between 5 and 20 degrees. That's a 15-degree range. Kind of big, kind of small. I would tend to think smaller. They have a percentage for the ideal attack angle. They have the average attack angle for a hitter. The lower, the flatter. Dom Canzone in 2024, his attack angle was 16 degrees. That's a little bit on the higher part. Guys on the Mariners with really high attack angles, Cal Raleigh, Gino Suarez, those are the big home run hitters. What comes with it, though, is a lot of whiff and some strikeouts. What were Dom Canzone's problem in 2024? Whiff and strikeouts. 34% whiff, 28% strikeout. He cut down on both of those in 2025. Was down 8% on his whiff rate and 7% on his strikeout rate. 34% whiff rate, down to 26%. 28% strikeout rate, down to 22%. Big differences here. Dom Canzone's attack angle went from that 16 degrees to 12 degrees. That's a 4-degree difference on average. And that means that his swing is flatter. That allows for less whiff, allows for more time in the zone, and allows for more line drives. Now, what did Dom Canzone do? He hit more line drives, had less whiff. Both likely because of that attack angle partially. He also was catching the ball farther out in front of the plate. A full inch farther in front of the plate. Again, these sound like small, minute details, but a 1-inch difference can be a big difference. His bat speed was up slightly too. So his bat speed being up, catching the ball out in front, this allowed him to punish fastballs specifically in on him. Attack angle, catching the ball in front, pulled line drives. Pulled line drives are going to be hit harder. They're going to fall more. And at T-Mobile Park, that's what you want with that right field fence. Other pieces of Dom Canzone, we talked about the swing. His feet, wider than they were in 2024. 2024, there was a 22.7-inch distance between his 2 feet. 29-inch difference in 2025. They were really wide in his first season. He brought them really far in, and now he's found a middle ground. He's also moved farther up in the box. That's part of why he's catching the ball farther out in front. About 1.5 inches farther up in the box. All these things, big changes. Okay? These are allowing him to do new things with the baseball that he hasn't been able to do, allowing him to be the guy who has always had good barrel rates, good hard hit rates. Now he's cut down on whiff, cut down on strikeout. He's hitting the ball in play more. And that angle of which he's hitting the ball, that launch angle sweet spot, is a lot better. That's a 6% difference purely in launch angle sweet spot. And at 6%, again, it sounds small, but if you look at Baseball Savant, that's from purely in the blue to very much so in the red. I don't got exact numbers because he wasn't qualified. You have to remember, these are all small samples. All small samples. But again, differences. Bat speed, up. And his fast swing rate also up about 10%. Fast swing rate, over 75 mile an hour on that swing speed, bat speed. Quicker your bat moves, harder you're going to hit the ball. Again, minute changes, minute differences in numbers year to year make big differences. That fast swing rate, his first season, 13%. his second season, he doubles that to 26%. Now he's at 36%. From 13 to 36% in just 2 years. That comes with swing changes. His stance, closed, more closed. He started slightly open, got more open, and now he's brought it in, closed. 6 degrees open after being 20 degrees open in 24, 13, and 23. Changes. This is the stuff you want to see. Changes in his swing are the stuff where it's like, oh, he's actually made changes. And now it's like, okay, this type of thing could carry over. Moving on. Ground balls, fly balls, all that stuff. So, Dom Canzone, ground balls versus hitting the ball in the air. It's actually been pretty similar. But when he hit the ball in the air in 2025, the percentage of fly balls versus pop-ups versus line drives, there was a difference there. 10% more line drives than in 2024. And we talked about him hitting more line drives. We talked about that partially being because of his attack angle. Well, there you go. That's part of where that comes into play. Whiff, line drives, strikeouts, that's coming into play there. He's also pulling the ball more. 10% more pulled rate compared to 2024. More pulled ground balls, slightly more pulled fly balls, less ground balls up the middle, and he's just hitting the ball. The whiff is down. He's hitting the ball when it's in the strike zone better. 7% in-zone contact rates. It's a 7% increase between the 2 years. And we talked about it. Barrel, hard hit, they've always been good things he's been good at. He's always had good barrel and hard hit rates, but going from 11% barrel rate and 44% hard hit rate to 14% barrel rate and 49% hard hit rate. 3% and 5% differences, yet those 3 and 5% differences take you from a below average player to an above average player. Maybe you're not 41% above league average like Canzone was this year. But can you middle out at 10 to 15% above league average? 6% increase in launch angle sweet spot. Squaring the ball up more. Average exit velocity up a couple miles an hour on average. Again, if you want to see this for yourself visually, if you want to be like, well, what does this kid know? Go look at the Baseball Savant page. Compares 2024 to 2025 and just look at the color. It's from blue and gray or slight red to bright red. Go look at his Savant page from 2025. The first thing you're going to see is, well, the whiff, the strikeout, they're still below average. Doesn't walk a lot. He still chases quite a bit. But go compare those to the year before. Now he's walking 2% less, and that's taking him from above to below average. But everything else is better. Even that chase percentage, it's basically the same. But technically, it's slightly better. It's changes. In his swing, it's changes in numbers. And it changes in what he's been able to do with pitches. 2024, it was a weird year for him if you look at a bunch of the numbers. Like, really weird year. He did some weird things. There were some things where he was just kind of an outlier if you compare his 25 and 23 seasons. It was almost like an adjustment year after he made some swing changes heading into the season. And now they're coming to fruition. But he's whiffing 10% less than he was against fastballs in 2025 and 7% less against breaking balls in 2025. He's made changes and they're paying off. Look at breaking balls first. He hit 204 and slugged 370 with a 43% whiff rate and a almost 23% put away rate in 2024. Well, he's cut down that put away rate by about 4%. So they're not able to strike him out as much and put him away and sit him down with breaking balls. He's cut that whiff percentage by 6%. and it allowed him to hit 308 with a 564 slug against breaking balls in 2025. Fastballs, same damn thing. That was actually the pitch they put him away with the most in 2024, 27.8 put away percentage, down to 18.2%, lower than the breaking balls. Whiff rate down 10% nearly. It went from hitting 235, slugging 456, to hitting 315, slugging 496. Off speed pitches is where he still is struggling, where he still has something to improve. But put away percentage wise, from 24 to 12.9. He was harder to strike out. Man, he was able to put the ball in play more, see more pitches, let him get his pitch to hit and do damage, and he did it. But I talked about fastballs. He struggled against fastballs in 2024 specifically. 2023 was pretty good. Run value 9, slugged 841, just a 19% whiff, 60% hard hit rate, 13% put away. But those numbers, they skyrocketed. Put away rate doubled. Hard hit rate down 10%. Whiff rate up 10%. And went to a negative run value. 2025, it evens back up. 2 run value. Slugged 462, sorry. Hit 282 with just a 19% whiff. Hard hit rate up 7.5% from 24. And his put away rate down, like I said. That's against fastballs. The biggest thing was that he was able to hit fastballs, and he was able to do damage against sliders and curveballs. Curveballs, -2 run value in 2024. Right? Slugged just 200, hit just 150, 37% whiff rate, 38% strikeout rate, just a 41% hard hit rate. The hard hit rate went down, but still hit 348 with a 522 slug, and the expected numbers were very good as well. 326 with a 573 X slug. He hit 34 or had a 34% whiff rate and just a 25% strikeout rate. Changes. 13% difference in strikeout rate, 3% difference in whiff rate. Changes. Sliders. He whiffed nearly 50% of the time against them in 2024. He's down to 45-ish percent. Strikeout rate down 2%, but the hard hit rate went up 12%. Went from hitting 174 to hitting 306, slugging 435, 639. Run value of 1, run value of 3, the highest of any pitch. Tied with cutters. He did damage. 4-seam fastballs. Same frickin' thing. Same frickin' thing. 19% whiff rate, 23% strikeout rate, 19% put away pitch, or put away percent. We already talked about that. He had 282, 462 slug, all better. All better. Sliders, curveballs, fastballs, where he did his damage. Now, where can he improve? Because, of course, there are holes. But how can he get better? How can he build? How can he allow himself to sustain and not have holes that pitchers can just target and attack? Changeups. Negative run value against changeups in 2025. Still, though, hit 258, 290 slug, but just a 38% hard hit rate. Man, it's just been changes. And in 2023, I talked about the sliders and curveballs. He struggled against those pitches, even though he was doing damage to 4-seam fastballs. In 2024, he saw less fastballs, more changeups, more curveballs, more sliders. They started to have to throw more fastballs this year because he was able to hit the sliders and the curveballs. Now, can he hit the splitters and the changeups to make them throw more of those pitches he's able to do damage against? He doesn't even have to be great against changeups. But can you do enough where it's just not the pitch that they can attack you with? Can you unlock the ability to do stuff against those. And that's part of why he struggled in the postseason, because he faced guys with good splitters and good changeups. So the questions I have on Dom, I just said one. Can he unlock the ability to hit changeups or splitters? And can he maintain success against fastballs, sliders, and curveballs? Okay, the last few things. Like I said, Dom Canzone made actual swing changes that allowed his numbers to thrive. He went from hitting 196 in 2024 to hitting 300 in 2025. Went from an 81 and an 88 WRC plus in his first 2 seasons to a 141. Small sample, though, and he struggled in the postseason, hitting just 107, 138, 107 in 11 games with a 35% strikeout rate and a negative WRC plus, with 0 extra base hits, 0 hard contact, and just 3 hits total, which were 3 singles. Small sample, but he struggles with pitches low and away from him, and it's why the changeup and the splitter are able to be used against him, because he likes fastballs in and middle, and you can talk about middle up and in as well. He likes those areas, that quadrant. If you want to talk about the 4 zones that Dom Canzone can hit, it's up and in, middle, middle up, middle in. Those are the 4 spots he can hit. It's where he does the most damage. He has the highest WOBA in those 4 zones, and the 3rd highest xWOBA behind just Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. In postseason, he didn't get much of anything in this area. It's part of why he struggled as well. So if pitchers are just going to target him away from that, away from him being able to jump on fastballs middle in and pummel him into right field seats, what is he going to do adjust? How can he combat that? And it's going to be able to get off of sliders, get off of changeups and other off-speed pitches. Do what you did against breaking balls in 2025. Do what you did against fastball in 2025. Repeat those. But be able to attack changeups and splitters. Then you're really talking about a good freaking hitter. Because being able to get your bat around and crush inside fastballs, even velocity, you're going to see less and less of those. But being able to do that shows just how talented Dominic Canzone is. So the last question I have for Dom Canzone. What happens when you see more pitches away, and specifically low and away and running away from you? When pitchers start using those pitches more, what do you do? If you can avoid laying off and whiffing at those, even just fouling them off, it's going to be advantageous for you. So, Dom Canzone. Is 2025 repeatable? I think yes. Sign me all the way up for Dom Canzone in 2026. I'm excited to see what this guy can do. Another offseason to make some changes to build on what he did in 2025. We know this guy works his ass off. And I'm a Dom Canzone believer. And if there's no Dom Canzone fans, consider me dead. We are officially the Dom Canzone podcast. We might do more of these breakdowns. Specifically, we're going to might look at Victor Robles, Luke Raley. It's 2 guys that dealt with injuries but struggled after having good seasons in 2024. A little bit different than Dom Canzone, but hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you're a believer in Dom Canzone as well, because seeing some real changes in his swing, I think, gives me the belief that he can repeat part of what he did. I don't think he's going to be a 141 WRC plus, but if you can give me a 115, I will be overjoyed with Dom Canzone this year. That is all for today's episode. I will be back Thursday. We're going to be talking about a few trade targets that the Mariners might have that are going to be everyday solidified, proven players. Thank you guys so much for joining. Go Hawks. Super Bowl bound. Go M's. Hopefully get a move soon. And obviously, if a move gets done, emergency pod. And if not, we might move what happens with that Thursday plan. We might move it to next week if they make a move before then. But as always, signing off. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go M's, everybody, and peace.